Greetings, friends. Prepare for another thrilling journey as we delve into Reddit's most bizarre tales. We're plunging deep into the quirkiest corners of the web. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Remember to hit subscribe and like. Let's begin. This is my story for anyone going through a divorce. Along the way, we might share some laughs and shed a few tears. But in the end, I found myself in a new life I never thought I'd have. I hope that both men and women who read this find comfort knowing others have gone through similar struggles and leave inspired that things can improve. My story starts from the beginning. I met my ex-wife when I was around 24. She was in college working towards her associate's degree, while I was balancing two jobs, working 65 to 70 hours a week and pursuing my own studies. She was sweet and always wanted me around whenever I could be there. It seemed like we shared the same values and had similar goals for the future, though we did have our differences, like our taste in music, but that didn't seem important at the time. We were happy, and our relationship felt solid. About a month into dating, she found out her dad had cancer. She offered me a way out of the relationship, saying that it would be too much for me to handle. I didn't understand why she thought that and told her that being her boyfriend meant supporting her, especially when things got tough. She was overjoyed, saying she'd never met anyone who didn't run when life got complicated. For the next year, I helped however I could. I took her dad to his chemo appointments, helped out around the house, and spent time with her family. Even when I injured my back at work and had to eventually undergo surgery, I still contributed however possible, even tutoring her younger sister who was in high school at the time. Eventually, her dad passed away. After that, the family refused to take in her sister, so she had to step up and take care of both her sister and the house. I continued to help, explaining how to manage bills, teaching her how things worked around the house, things her dad never taught her. I had bought my own home a couple of years earlier, so I was able to guide her through it all. The situation with her sister was tense, and they argued constantly. The house was falling apart because there wasn't enough money to maintain it. She even dropped out of school when she only needed one last class to graduate. It was a dark time for her, and I supported her as much as I could, cooking, cleaning, doing what needed to be done, even though it wasn't my house. Despite everything, I believed she was the love of my life. I wanted to make her happy, so I took her to the place where we had our first date and proposed. She said yes, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. Over the next month, she moved into my house since her sister was 18 by then and had some financial support from their mom. It was the best move for her, as she was no longer trapped in a house where her sister's verbal and occasional physical abuse was constant. We were engaged for nearly 4 years, living in my home with my family. It was a big adjustment for her. In the first few years, we'd occasionally discuss wedding plans, but she struggled to decide whether to just go to town hall or try to host a venue like her family wanted, even though we couldn't afford it. Some of her family hated me, which only made things harder for her. Life wasn't easy either. We were constantly caught up helping others. Friends in tough situations, my uncle going through a divorce, my ongoing back issues. Eventually, she suggested we get married quickly, as she was about to lose her health insurance. She figured if there was ever a time, it was now. So we got married, but after that, things started to go downhill. Even before the wedding, when we were still engaged, she often complained that we weren't intimate enough. I tried to initiate, but she would push me away, and it left me feeling confused and like I had done something wrong. She told me to try harder, so I did, but the pattern repeated. Eventually, I told her that if things were going to change, she would need to initiate because I couldn't keep feeling like the bad guy for not meeting her expectations. She wasn't happy about it, but she understood. Occasionally, she'd initiate, and I would usually agree unless it was late at night or my back was hurting. Whenever she complained again about the lack of intimacy, I'd ask her when the last time she initiated was. She would realize she hadn't, get upset, and then later apologize. After we were married, she started making jokes to friends about how the lack of sex was affecting her mood, saying things like she wouldn't be so irritable if she got laid. It made both me and my friends uncomfortable, and we told her multiple times that her comments were inappropriate. Over time, her behavior started driving my friends away. She encouraged me to make friends outside the house, but I told her I preferred spending time with her. In the last 2 years of our marriage, she frequently refused to commit to plans with me and would lock herself in our bedroom. I'd wait in our office, hoping she'd want to do something together, but every time I tried, I'd get yelled at to leave her alone or find something else to do. At one point, my wife reconnected with a high school friend she hadn't seen in years, outside of her usual circle. After about 6 months, they stopped hanging out, and she told me it was because he touched her inappropriately. She even said I had been right the third time I met him, when I told her there was something off about him. About 6 months later, she confessed that she had been sleeping with him and felt guilty enough to finally tell me. Just a week after that, I found out that the last close friend I had was also sleeping with her. I discovered this accidentally when I saw their messages on Facebook. I was furious, especially since earlier that same day, I had been making plans with him to see the latest Marvel movie together. That night, I confronted her. She broke down, saying she felt terrible about everything and promised to cut off contact with him. She blamed it on alcohol and weed, saying they got the better of her both times, and she was committed to doing better. I don't drink or smoke, but I wanted to believe her. I forgave her, telling her this was her last chance. We were married, and I wanted to try to make things work if she was willing to do the same. For a time, things seemed to improve. She showed more interest in me, and I thought we were back on track. She decided to undergo weight loss surgery, but after that, things took a turn for the worse. She started smoking weed behind my back, drinking heavily with her friends, and making strange new friends after her weight loss. She was going out more frequently, but I was never invited. Whenever I asked to join her, she'd say it was better if I didn't come along. The last time we went out together, she took me to a card shop with one of her new friends to play board games. On the way home, she said, "I don't want to do this with you anymore. I came to have fun, not to help you because you can't hear. I'm partially deaf in one ear and half deaf in the other." It was incredibly hurtful, and she'd never said anything like that before. I retreated to my office, focusing on finishing my bachelor's degree and trying to make sense of why she said that. She never apologized, and our communication started to break down completely. In the last year of our marriage, talking to her became impossible. She convinced herself, through TikTok videos, that she had autism, and any time I tried to have a conversation with her, she would blow up and walk away, saying, "I need to process." When she came back, she'd tell me I wasn't allowed to speak because it would change her thoughts. She refused therapy, no matter how much I urged her to go. About 6 months before I told her to leave, she sat me down one night and told me that her new trans friend had suggested she ask me about an open marriage. She said she felt empty inside, and having sex with other people might fill that void and make her happy. I told her no. When she asked why, I reminded her we're married. This is a commitment you agreed to. She understood and even said she was glad I didn't blow up, considering she had already cheated twice. I tried to get her into therapy again, explaining that these feelings were a red flag. She refused outright. The day before I asked her to leave, I made her spaghetti squash, a meal she could eat after her weight loss surgery. She came home and went off about something I can't even remember now. Then she said, "Tell me I'm crazy. I need you to tell me so I can get better." I responded that what she was saying didn't make sense. She yelled, hit me, slapped me. I refused, and my family, who were in the other room, came in, shocked. She quickly ran into the bathroom and then left to meet up with her friend from the card shop. That night, I talked to her brother, explaining what I had been going through and that she seemed to be losing control since her surgery. He agreed and promised to help convince her to get therapy. The next day at work, her sister called to tell me that the guy from the card shop, she had been sleeping with him the entire time. She was telling her friends that we were in an open marriage and he was her boyfriend. They even had sex in our bed on New Year's Eve while I was with my family in NYC watching the ball drop, a trip she refused to join. I lost it. I messaged her that we needed to talk. She already knew why and tried to defend herself. This time she showed no guilt. That's when I told her she needed to leave. It took a long time for me to heal. I couldn't sleep in my own bed for a month and had to take medication just to rest. I felt like I was somehow at fault, even though I knew deep down it wasn't my doing. Thankfully, I had the support of my brother-in-law, his family, and my own family to help me through it. I was deeply depressed, especially when I found out about the other things she had done, like opening 3 credit cards behind my back, one even in my name. 6 months later, I realized I deserved to date again. I wasn't going to punish myself for what she did. It took a few tries. I got ghosted twice, and one woman just wanted to use me, so I walked away. Then something great happened. I met an incredible woman, around my age, college educated with a career, and who wanted a family. She appreciated me, made me feel valued, and supported me through my divorce. She's beautiful, kind, and amazing in every way. Now we're getting married in 2 months, and we have a baby on the way. It's been nearly 2 years since I told my ex-wife to leave. As for her, she fell into addiction, stuck living with her aunt, where her new boyfriend isn't even allowed to visit. She didn't get the house, only a small settlement thanks to my lawyer, and she's completely blocked from my life. The point of my story? Don't give up. Be the best version of yourself. Sometimes, your significant other can feel like hell on earth, but divorce can be a blessing, leading you to a happier life. Keep trying, keep searching, and don't dwell on the past. The irony of it all? I spent years urging her to see a therapist, and now I'm engaged to one. Life is funny, and life is good.